Crimson Trace's laser saddle is a feature-packed laser sighting solution for Mossberg 500, 590, and 590 Shockwave 12-gauge shotguns. Available as a red or green laser. Buy it now at crimsontrace.com.
Today on Tom Gresham's Gun Talk, what can firearms industry companies and groups do if they get banned on social media? It's happening more frequently, and there are steps to take now to stay connected to your favorites. Plus, tips on starting or joining a youth shooting sports group near you, becoming a grassroots lobbyist, and more. And as always, call us at 866-TALK-GUN. That's Tom Talk Gun with your comments, questions, and range reports. And now, here's Tom.
All right, let's talk about it. Tom Gresham here. It's Gun Talk. We have so much to cover today. A lot of things going on. Of course, we have the news. Even as we're speaking, they're doing press conferences out of Odessa, Florida, where we had a weird one, a rolling mass shooting, which means the police are going to have multiple crime locations to cover, to investigate. We don't have a lot of information about it right now. I will give a shout out to the Odessa, Texas police chief who they just had a press conference. He refused to say the name of the shooter. He says, I'm not going to give him the notoriety. He says, we'll give it out to the media. We'll hand it to you, but I'm not going to say it here in this public forum. Good for you, chief. I am convinced that at least some of these characters do this to become famous on their way out. As a way of doing suicide, but becoming famous with it. Don't know if that's what was going on here. We've heard different reports on different things. Well, I'm going to return to this particular shooting later in the show and talk a little bit about what, if anything, you can do to prepare for something like that. And it may be more on the medical side than it is on the ballistic side. We have so many things going on. Of course, the Democrats are coming back to Congress with a plan of introducing more gun control laws. Let's push laws that would have done nothing to stop the current shootings. They hold up any particular current crime and then say, so we have to do something. We have to pass this law. And you ask, well, the law you're proposing, you understand, would not have stopped this. It actually wouldn't even have applied to the murderer you're talking about. Well, I know, but we have to do something. Even if it doesn't work, but we have to do something. And then we have the idiots, even on Fox, the idiots on Fox News say, well, hey, what would you like to say, sir, about how much ammunition he had? Well, I don't know. We don't know what he had, 100, 200, 300 rounds. As if having 100 or 200, 300 rounds is disqualifying, is bad, is strange, is odd. That's not even a good morning of shooting for most of us at the range. In organized or unorganized, safe, responsible, recreational shooting. Very weird. Then we have this shooting. You may have seen the video, Philadelphia, I believe it was, the Metro PCS phone store. A guy in a hoodie walks in with a gun in his hand, tosses, I think it looks like it tosses a bag on the counter of the clerk, and basically says, fill it up with money, and then, in a very poor tactical move, turns his back on the clerk, and the clerk, at lefty, pulls out his pistol and shoots the robber, the armed robber. If you are like me, you've seen it on TV, and they stop the video just as he's about to shoot. I saw one where they showed one shot. Well, somebody just sent me the full video from another camera angle. And it's really instructive. It looks as though the clerk, this store had been robbed a couple of times before. It's in such a bad part of town that they actually have a police log in the store, and police come in and log in to say they've checked in. First of all, you may not want to take a job in a place where the police are required to come in and check in with you every day because it's so unsafe. Number two, this guy was aware. He saw this guy coming in the door. He saw that he had a gun in his hand. And the clerk, when he drew, when you see the full video, he did essentially a mag dump. I think he may have fired 14 shots, and just in what I could see, I'm not sure that he missed once. And yeah, he does continue to shoot him on the ground. Then he grabs his phone and heads out the door and calls the police. lessons to be learned, awareness. And then we had a couple come through here last night, some friends of ours on their way they spend the summers in Florida. They were in Jupiter, Florida. And when Hurricane Dorian started taking a bead on them, and it looked like it might be a Cat 4 a couple of days ago, they said, no, we're out of here. But what was interesting is when they were describing to us, my wife and me, their neighbors and what their neighbors were doing, which was essentially nothing. And then about 2 or 3 days before the projected hit, the neighbors decided to start going on Amazon.com to order their preparation supplies. Ordering batteries from Amazon. Well, we have Prime. Okay. You understand nothing's going to be moving here in a couple of days if this thing is headed our way. It's a mindset thing. It's a mindset thing. You live in a hurricane area. You don't have supplies already. If you live in a hurricane area, actually when you live anywhere, don't let your gas tank get below half in your car because you don't know what's going to happen. Could be a hurricane, could be a tornado, could be a train derailment with a poison gas cloud headed your way. Could be any number of things. You may have to leave. Depending on what it is, if the power goes out, gas stations aren't going to be pumping any gas. You may need to get 50 or 100 miles away before you can get gas. Oh, gee, I never thought of that. This is one I like. I never imagined. Really? You need a better imagination. Part of preparation is having a good imagination. Because if you can imagine it, you can start preparing for it. Because if you can't see how it could happen, you cannot and will not prepare. A lot of things going on. Oh, I do have to get to this. I should have done this right off the bat. Hold on. Because we have winners. Our last month's Surefire giveaway winners. The X300U handgun light with Randy S. Stiletto flashlight winners Jack K. and Andreas W. You're going to get your emails. Check your inbox. We're also have a new giveaway I'll tell you about a little bit later on. Yeah, we're going to give away a gun. Cool stuff, all right. If you'd like to be a part of this, 866-TALK-GUN when we come back. What happens, because social media is pretty much the megaphone, the billboard. It's the way you communicate. What happens when your gun rights group gets shut out of social media? You basically get shut down. You get deplatformed. You simply don't have a way to communicate with your people. We'll talk about that when we come back. 866-TALK-GUN.
The next big thing for the AR-15 has arrived. The Brownells BRN 180 Upper, a modernized version of the Armalite AR-180, featuring a 16-inch barrel, a 223 wild chamber, and a full-length pick rail. The BRN 180 skips the buffer system to allow complete function of the firearm with the stock folded or extended. Best of all, the Brownells BRN 180 mounts to any mil-spec AR lower. Visit brownells.com today.
This land, once wild and free, fades now from our memory. But I remember what it was like, what we were like, what we are capable of when we band together. Perhaps more than any other landscape, wetlands embody the life-giving abundance that nature has to offer. And perhaps more than any other organization, Ducks Unlimited is working to ensure that our continent's wetlands not only survive, but thrive for generations well beyond this one. These natural wonders are where waterfowl begin their cycle of life, where the deer and the antelope play, and where we, the people, gather together to see and share what makes the outdoors so great. The time is now to band together with organizations like Ducks Unlimited. The time is now to rescue our wetlands.
The Ruger pistol that started it all is now even better. The Ruger Mark IV has the same great look as the Mark III, but now its simple one-button takedown means less time taking apart your gun and more time shooting it. Disassemble it in seconds for no hassle cleaning. Learn more about the Target, Hunter, and 2245 Light Mark IV series models at Ruger.com. The Ruger Mark IV, another rugged, reliable firearm from Ruger.
We're back with you. We're still clinging to our guns and our religion, a.k.a. according to President Obama, the $65 million man. That's a heck of a book advance. Holy cow. Just bought him a $15 million mansion. Yeah, okay. We'll talk about that at some other point. You've heard us talk about, and we've had guests on here from the Well-Armed Women, a really good national group, getting people involved, getting women involved, and taking care of themselves, taking responsibility for their own safety. And as has happened to several other people, they recently got hammered. Joining us to talk about that right now is Michelle Camp. Michelle, what happened to you guys?
Oh, thanks for having me on today, Tom. It was crazy. We had our Instagram account just completely shut down. No notice, no warning, nothing. We just logged on, and our Instagram account was completely gone.
It wasn't like you got a notice that says, hey, because of some action you took that's contrary to our blah, blah, blah. We're just gone. Wasn't there?
Just gone. We're unable to log in entirely for 6 days. And
well,
at this point,
okay,
we
so
still don't have an answer.
Well, I was going to ask, so what has happened in the 6 days since?
So it happened on August 17th, and we kind of went to work immediately, reaching out to everyone that we knew in the industry. So we were kind of lucky because we had some industry contacts. So getting a hold of NRA and National Shooting Sports Foundation, Dana Lash actually tweeted about it. So we were in the situation where we had other people that were reaching out on our behalf. And then 6 days later, our account magically reappeared. And no word one way or the other.
No contact from Instagram at all?
No contact at all.
Who owns Instagram?
I am not even sure who owns Instagram.
I think
it's a larger part of Facebook, though.
I think it's Facebook. I mean,
I think it is.
My speculation, I don't know where you are, my speculation is some dweeb at Instagram looked at it and went, oh, gun things, shut her down, boom, click, and moving on to the next thing, and then high-five the other dweebs working there, and, the 22-year-old who now has the power with the mouse.
Yeah, it has to be something like that. I mean, everything that we post on our Instagram page is educational, so we're not posting anything political. We're not posting anything, that could even be considered to be anything other than just educational. Nothing provocative at all goes on that page.
I know there are some people who are thinking, so what's the big deal? And you might just describe the role that social media plays in your ability to communicate with your members and also to do outreach to people who might be interested in your group.
Oh, social media is everything for our group. I mean, it's how we communicate with our customers on the LLC side. It's how we communicate with all of our members, our chapter leaders on our nonprofit side. So if our social media isn't there, then we lose our main platform to communicate with all of our followers nationwide across the country.
What you're actually saying is you quite literally cease to be able to function.
Absolutely.
So by deplatforming, which is a word I've learned recently, they basically remove the platform from you. They can destroy your organization or your company. And of course, they've done that to a number of gun stores at various times where Facebook or somebody just yanks them. And it's like all of a sudden you've got a store on the highway, but you are prohibited from having a sign so no one can know you're there. You're back off the highway and nobody knows you're there and you can't tell anybody anymore. You just cease to exist almost.
Absolutely, and it's so frustrating because you feel so helpless. You have no control over it. They won't give you any answers about what's happened. Our livelihood depends on being able to reach out to all of our followers on both of our platforms, and so just losing that ability is it's extremely frustrating.
If you would, because there are probably some people who don't really know what the Well-Armed Woman is about, give them the elevator pitch on what the group is and what it does.
So we actually have a couple of different sides of our business. We've got resources that are available for that were initially designed for women, but we even have resources that work for men now. On our Well Armed Woman website, we sell holsters. We don't sell any guns. So there are sales of holsters and gear and things along those lines, as well as lots of educational resources for people who are just coming into shooting and may have questions that they don't feel comfortable asking, in a huge platform. So there are all sorts of educational resources. And then we have a nonprofit arm, which is our shooting chapters group, which is nationwide, and we have chapters that meet together monthly, and we work with women instructors that work with women members, teaching them firearm safety and how to use the firearm to protect themselves.
And if you are, I'm just kind of explaining what social media is doing, and it may be obvious to a lot of people, but if you're a local club, then you could send out a newsletter with email or something, or you guys can all get together. But when you're a national organization, as you are, and you have chapters all over, your social media platform, your Facebook page, your Instagram, that is how you meet. That is how you communicate with each other. It is, in essence, it's your meeting hall. What they do is they're burning down your meeting hall.
Absolutely. Instagram, we had 32,000 followers, but on Facebook, we've got 450,000. All of our chapter leaders across the country use Facebook groups to communicate with each other, as well as with our home office and with their members. So, being shut down in the Facebook world would be completely devastating. So, we're just trying to figure out how we can find a better way or a better platform to be able to communicate with everyone that we need to be.
It's also an interesting situation in that you're trying to tiptoe around and not run afoul of invisible rules, because you don't know what the rules are. They won't tell you what the rules are. It's basically one of those deals of, well, do whatever you want to do, and then we'll let you know when you've crossed the line by basically shooting you in the head.
Absolutely. And it's scary. We've had we hadn't had any posts removed until this same week on Facebook, and there were some posts that were removed as violating community standards. We've had educational things that are being blocked that are just teaching safe gun handling through some of our chapters and some of our members, where, we're obviously not selling any firearms. We're just trying to get the word out and train people to be safe and responsible with firearms, which should be the goal of everyone.
And then, of course, when you ask, if you try to ask, you actually can't get any feedback to say, well, what did we do that violated your standards, or what standards, can I see it in writing so I know what it is? And you can't get anything back from them.
No, you can't talk to a person. You can't figure out how to safely remain in compliance with their standards, because, it's impossible.
It is a challenge, and I don't know exactly where we go, because I tend to be a free enterprise person, but at the same time, we're at the point where Facebook and a lot of the social media have basically become monopolies. And as such, kind of like the old, Ma Bell, when the government had to come in and break it up, and all of a sudden, things were better. I hate to even think about calling for government intervention, but I don't know where we go or what happens, because what you now have is invisible people with invisible rules that have the power of corporate life and death over outfits like a Well Armed Woman.
Absolutely, and I couldn't agree more, because I tend to be the same way. I don't like calls for government intervention and things like this, but it is scary where we don't have freedom of speech at all in that platform, and they're becoming less and less friendly to the Second Amendment and any kind of post that you make related to anything about guns. So it's a tough call, but something definitely has to be done, and I know we're going to work on trying to figure out what that something is. There are other platforms available, but obviously none of them have the reach that we've gone through.
They're tiny now compared to these, yeah. So if people want to know more about Well Armed Woman, you've got the WellArmedWoman.com, as well as on Facebook, you can look for The Well Armed Woman.
Yes, you can.
All right. Michelle, thank you so much, and keep me posted. If you find out any more about it, we would love to know, okay?
Will do. Thanks so much for having me.
All righty, you take care. 866-TALK-GUN. A lot of these stories going on right now. Oh, I'm kind of teased it. I said we're going to have a new giveaway. We do have a new giveaway. Let me go ahead and tell you about that one right now. It's Kimber. We're doing a deal with Kimber this month. A Kimber EVO SPCS. That's from the Custom Shop. It is a very cool, really neat pistol. If you'd like to enter for a chance to win that, go to guntalk.com/win. Also, of course, over at our shop, guntalk.com, we have a lot of our hats and shirts and books and things. Oh, I forgot. We've got some hidden things going on over there. I've cleaned out the closet. All these books I've been moving around for the last 35 years, we finally just said, yeah, we're just going to sell them. We have limited editions, leather-bound editions of the Weatherby book, Weatherby the Man, the Gun, the Legend. We've got some cool old things, old books there that I wrote, that my dad wrote, that go way back. These things are so far out of print, nobody even remembers them. So we sell them cheap. But you ought to check it out at shopguntalk.com. All right, let's go back to this idea of preparedness, preparation. I was just writing something about this, and it's interesting. People don't think you're weird if you take a class on CPR. They think, well, that's smart. That's good. But if you go take a class on stopping the bleeding and putting tourniquets on, people think, well, that's a little odd. Same deal. It's life-saving stuff. And if you take a class on gunfighting, on protecting yourself and other people with a gun, there are a lot of people who think you're just paranoid and strange. I see it all as being identical. Life-saving skills, things that I can use to save my life or save other people's lives. It is interesting. Have you ever had somebody react oddly to the fact that you carry a gun, that you have taken responsibility for your own safety, that you think it's important, and you think that actually it's irresponsible for somebody to not be prepared to take care of their family? What was that conversation like? I would love to know. 866-TALK-GUN or call me at Tom Talk Gun. I'm Tom Gresham. This is Gun Talk.
Good morning, Mr. Gresham. Your mission, should you decide to accept it, is to host a radio show that will bring truth and common sense to the discussion of firearms rights in this country. Good luck, Tom, to you and your Tom Gresham's Gun Talk team.
Did you see this story out of Colorado? High school student posts some pictures, some videos of himself loading up some guns, going out shooting with his family, going to the range, and somebody drops a dime on him. Almost. Now, as you listen to this story, think about the call for all these so-called red flag laws. So Nate put some pictures up, some videos up of on Snapchat, and pictures of the guns he's been loading up in the car, and then going out and shooting with his family. And evidently there's an app called Safe to Tell, SAFE, the number 2, TELL. It allows anonymous tips to law enforcement and the school. The cops also call it Safe to SWAT. It's a way that you can anonymously sic the police on someone. So someone saw the videos and reported it as threatening to shoot up the school, even though he was going out and shooting at a range. The police come and check it out, talk to him, and go, oh, okay, yeah, it's not a thing. But the high school kicks him out. The school expels him. And then won't reverse it, even after the police have looked into it. And it takes a full day for them to do their reversal. Obviously violating the student's civil liberties, disregard for the parental rights. All you have to do is make a call. Gee, isn't that exactly what the red flag laws allow? Is I can call and say my neighbor did something, and the police should come and take his guns away. And they come, because they're just following orders. Where have we heard that before historically? I was just following orders. Huh. Interesting. And at the same time, I understand there are people who you are so concerned about who clearly are dangerous, and you need to do something if you think this person's actually going to go do something. That's where due process comes in. Because the problem with a lot of the red flag laws is that you don't even know that a complaint has been made against you until the police show up to take your guns. You don't get to defend yourself. You get to say, hey, that person who made the charge is crazy. He's been making false claims about me for years. No, they just show up and take them. Now you got to work to get them back. Jim's telling me a veteran in Oregon had 5 guns confiscated this week. Yeah, there's more to that story than you may be hearing. There's something else going on with that one, so I'm not going to get wrapped around the axle about that. Let's go to line 1. Matt's with us out of Waco, Texas. Hello, Matt. Thank you for your patience.
Yes, Tom. I'm calling because I'm concerned about a recent article I've been following in the last 48 hours about the ATF issuing letters to owners of the semi-automatic version of the AA-12 and post-dealer samples of the automatic version of that shotgun. Mm-hmm. They're saying that the markings on the receiver indicate that it has full auto markings as well as semi-auto markings. Now, us who have owned many AR-15s for decades understand these are just markings on the receiver. There's no actual function of that.
It's a stamping. It's just a stamping on a receiver. This doesn't mean the gun can fire in full auto.
That's correct. But the ATF is determining this particular AA-12 shotgun because of that marking as an NFA item.
It's
now they're doing the confiscation of those weapons.
And what's interesting about it is they're sending letters to people who have these guns. And what I'm wondering is, how do they know who to send the letters to? Because the federal government is prohibited by law from keeping a record on gun owners.
Well, I think that's a very good question that somebody should be looking into, and I'm glad you just mentioned it because that's the first I've heard anybody with a platform mention it. And I think it's pretty clear to say that they're looking at 4473s. That's my suspicion. I have no evidence of that, but I have no idea where else they'd be getting this information to contact these owners.
Yeah, now what they could do, to your point, they could conceivably say, okay, we're going to go to the manufacturer. Who did you ship these to? Then we're going to go to those dealers and look through their books their 4473 books, and then we would go find the people. But the federal government, people may not be aware, is absolutely prohibited by law from keeping a registration list of gun owners. It is actually in 2 different laws, as I remember. It's prohibited. So you just kind of wonder what's going on. I just found out about the story this morning, and I'm not as up on it as I would like to be, Matt, but I'm going to be following it and see if we can find out a little bit more. And if I can get somebody on here who is conversing on it, we will do that as well, okay?
I appreciate that. Thank you for taking it up. It's very disturbing, and I think people should be watching this very closely.
I appreciate the call, sir. All right, 866-TALK-GUN. We're open lines. If you've got a gun that you want to tell me about, a gun you want to ask me about, or a gun that you want to sell real cheap, give me a call. 866-TALK-GUN.
When the U.S. military's elite units and law enforcement agencies across the globe demanded innovation and reliability, they didn't settle. They chose Sig Sauer. When world champion professional shooters demanded precision accuracy, they didn't settle. They chose Sig Sauer. So it's no surprise more and more civilian gun owners are refusing to settle for anything less. They're choosing Sig Sauer firearms, ammunition, electro-optics, suppressors, air guns, and training. Sig Sauer. Never settle.
Attacks happen every day. How will you react? See real people put into real-life criminal attack situations on First Person Defender. Discover what works and what doesn't. Kidnapping, ATM robbery, home invasion, and other attacks. Learn how to save your life and the lives of your family. Get the entire first season on DVD at shopguntalk.com. Get prepared. shopguntalk.com.
For 30
36 years, the U.S. Sportsmen's Alliance has been fighting to protect hunting, fishing, and trapping for sportsmen from coast to coast. Today, we are under constant attack from extremist animal rights groups who want to end your ability to hunt in the U.S. Join us to protect our sporting heritage and our way of life outdoors. To join or for more information on how you can help, go to ussportsman.org. That's ussportsman.org.
Since 1994, Crimson Trace has defined and built the laser sighting category through design, innovation, and performance. With an obsession to create best-in-class electro-optics, Crimson Trace now offers a full line of lasers, lights, reflex sights, red dot sights, and rifle scopes for tactical and sport applications. Most Crimson Trace products include free batteries for life, and all scopes are backed by a lifetime warranty. Find yours at your local dealer or at crimsontrace.com.
All right, back with you here. Mike's with us on line 5 out of Rudy, Texas. Hey, Mike, what's on your mind here?
Hey, Tom, excuse the voice. I got the allergies. That last call you had, and you're saying there's no such thing, and I knew that there's no such thing as the government having a registry of firearms.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest thing in these new proposed gun laws is universal background checks. If I'm not mistaken, I heard you say there's 325 million guns in private hands out there. That would be absolutely unenforceable, impossible to enforce that if you have to have a background check on every firearm unless there's a certificate of title or ownership or something like you have on cars. Mm-hmm. And they have to have a point of sale change of that title when you sell the gun. And that is de facto registration. That's the only way that will ever work. Universal background check will ever work. And then I heard nobody says anything about it, just like they don't see it.
Well, I will tell you, and you make a good point, Mike. I appreciate your call, sir. What we have to do when you're looking at things like this, we have a tendency to look at the proposal and think the proposal is actually about the proposal. And I've been at this long enough to know that it almost never is. The law they're proposing is never about what they're proposing. It's about setting up something else to happen. It's about setting the stage. It's about setting up the mousetrap, if you will, for you to, or the bear trap for you to step into. It's about setting up a system by which it is in essence impossible to operate legally. When the government has a system by which you cannot actually function without breaking the law, the government has the ultimate power over you because it could arrest you at any time. If you can't actually comply with the law, even though you're trying to, and I think that's what would be happening with the so-called universal background checks. It certainly is the case with the red flag laws where you don't even know what trips the wire. You don't know what it is you did or didn't do. It is the ultimate way to subjugate and control and get compliance from the people. And I understand people go, oh, that's conspiracy theory. No, it's actually, in this case, it's just history. It's not, I'm not imagining, I'm just recognizing what has gone before. You don't have to be a big student of history to have seen this thing happening in the U.S. as well as in other countries. And people go, oh, yeah, you're going to bring up the whole Germany deal. Well, yeah, that's worth remembering. But we can also bring up the whole Cambodia thing. We can bring up the whole Soviet Union thing. We can bring up the whole Venezuela thing. We can bring up fill in the blank. It's not paranoia if it actually is happening, if it actually has happened. So what if this is not really about this? I mean, sure, they say, yeah, we'd like to get this because then we can control this. Yeah, but they're not, some of the folks on the other side are really not dumb. They're pretty smart. And they do think several moves ahead. We're going to do this, and then this, and then this, and this enables us to do that. Maybe so. I'll get back to that in a second because we just lost an important court case which may end up being good. And we'll get back to that in just a second. Matt's on line 4 out of Arizona. Hello, Matt. You're on Gun Talk. Talk to me.
Well, I just wanted to add a little bit to what you said about the feds owning or keeping records. Of course, we don't have to have a license here to carry, but I do. But when I go to buy a firearm, I have to fill out the 4473, which is not called in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as I understand it, the gun stores need to keep those records for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
But if they shut down, all those records have to go to the ATF,
that is correct.
To only keep it for 5 years.
That is correct. And the ATF, when the FBI, when they call in, is prohibited by law from keeping the records of the background check questions that are all that gets processed. Yes, but no, you're correct. If the store goes out of business, they have to turn in the records. That is correct. No, you're exactly correct. And supposedly they don't have this central database of guns, blah, 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 blah. Maybe. I don't know. Am I paranoid? Oh, heck yes. The only question is, am I paranoid enough? All right, so in Chicago, they have an assault weapon ban. It was challenged in court. And the U.S. Court of Appeals has upheld this so-called assault weapons ban. On the face of it, you'd think, well, that's bad. We just lost one. Well, it would have been better if they had overturned the ban. But it may be a good thing. Here's the deal. This law was challenged before, and it was actually appealed all the way to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court refused to take the case. Well, that was then, and this is now. This is a different Supreme Court. And the plan is to appeal this to the U.S. Supreme Court. Appeal the ban on commonly owned firearms. Under the Heller decision, Scalia wrote that you can't ban commonly owned guns. That can't do it. And certainly, semi-automatic rifles are commonly owned. So the question is, would the Supreme Court accept this? Would they take this case now? Would they grant certiorari? Certiorari, thank you. I don't know. But you now have Gorsuch. You now have Kavanaugh. Which brings me to our upcoming election. As I said the last time, we will go back and repeat. The election is about one thing. I mean, it's about a whole bunch of things for a lot of people, but for me, it's about one thing. It's about the courts. Because here's the deal. If the Democrats pass gun control laws that cannot pass Supreme Court scrutiny, then whatever they pass makes no difference if the Supreme Court will overturn it as unconstitutional. So if they pass red flag laws or universal background checks or bans on this or bans on that or magazine limits, magazine capacity limits, and if the Supreme Court says, no, that does not gel with the Constitution, that's the stopgap. That basically gets us 20 years or 30 years. So for me, the upcoming election, and you can say what you want to about Donald Trump, Ruth Bader Ginsburg is not going to make it. She's not going to serve through another term. I mean, she's just not. She will retire. I hope nothing happens to her physically. I don't want her health to go downhill. I'm not asking for that. But we will have a chance. Trump will have a chance, and that will be the game changer. 866 Talk Gun. This is Gun Talk. In about 10 minutes, we're going to talk to some folks who decided they were going to get involved in the political process on the gun side. Didn't know what they were doing, didn't know how to do it, but they figured it out, and it's a very impressive story. Which leads me to this. I'm going to go ahead and get some things said here. The mess at the NRA. And I know the NRA is putting out all this stuff that says, hey, we're under attack from people within. No, they're not. They've screwed it up. Some of us have known about some of the stuff that's going on there for years and kept thinking, holy cow, guys, really? You're spending how much on hair and makeup and clothes and hotels and private jets and on and really? And you got board members making how much on their side deals? Really? And a lot of us didn't want to say anything because we like the NRA and we love the NRA and we think the Second Amendment's important and we're going, okay, what? But you get to a point where you just go, no more. Here's where we are right now. This is what I think, okay? Because some things we don't actually know, but a lot of things we do know at this point. Wayne's spending money like crazy. I mean, and I've called for him to step down. Please, Wayne, leave. For the good of the NRA, for the good of the cause, for the good of the Second Amendment. You're not helping. More than one board member and former board member has at this point said they think that he will end up being arrested. Yeah. I had the same reaction. Really? Are you kidding me? Seriously? I said, yeah, that's what we think is going to happen. If that were the case, and I have no idea if it would be, if that were the case, can you imagine the damage done? And God, I can sure see the Attorney General of New York just salivating over this, of wanting to do a perp walk of NRA officials before the cameras, handcuffs on. Kind of burning down the whole NRA at that point. What happens to the Second Amendment push? Yes, there are other groups out there, but the NRA has been the core group. They're kind of getting taken out. And yeah, I know. They said, well, Wayne talked to the president. Let me give you a little heads up. On that same day, the White House reached out to several other gun rights groups. I know this for a fact, because I'm involved with several other gun rights groups. So for them to say, well, the NRA got the White House, got the president to change his mind, okay, maybe. But I know that the White House and the president, they were talking to the other major gun rights groups as well. What happens from this point forward? I don't know. I know that the Attorney General of New York is gunning for the NRA. She's the one that labeled them a terrorist organization, which, by the way, if you want to destroy a group, what you first have to do is make them the other. You have to make them subhuman. We have to make them less than. Whether it was World War II, what we did with the Japanese here, or what historically has been done, you make a group less than, and then you can do things to them. That terrorist is the new subhuman deal. If we can label you as a terrorist, we can do things to you that would be unconscionable to do to regular human beings. The Attorney General of New York has labeled the NRA a terrorist organization. She is out to destroy it. Simple as that. I don't know where we go, but I do think I would rather, if all this happens, that Wayne is listed as the former as opposed to the current EVP. I hope that for all of our sakes, for the sake of the Second Amendment, he will step down. I don't see any signs of that. And like I say, all of this is, second, third hand, and I hope it doesn't come to pass, but it causes me great concern. It really does. And I don't know who's going to fill in. Really don't. 866-TALK-GUN. I'm Tom Gresham. This is Gun Talk.